episode of Content Jefe, I'll share with you our podcast Makeover. We are saying goodbye to season 1 of Content Jefe, and we are welcoming the new season with a brand new look. So if you're thinking about giving your podcast a refresher or re-engage your podcast audience with new, fresh, and super fun content, this episode is for you. Pod Sounds Cool presents Content Jefe, the podcast that helps online business owners make better content and more money. Let's Jefe up. Hey there, welcome to my office. This is one of the changes that we are implementing for season 2. I'm going to be recording here in my office. And you may be wondering, where is my co-host? Where's Steven? Well, he's no longer with us. I fire his ass. Just kidding. I can't fire him. He's kind of like my boss. But one of the changes that we are implementing for season 2 is that I will be running the show solo. I'm going to be the host of Content Jefe. Steven is not going to be in the picture anymore. So if you've been following our journey with Content Jefe, this is a big deal. This is something that took a lot of thinking, but I'm excited. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited for this new chapter of Content Jefe. There are 2 reasons why he's not going to be in the second season of Content Jefe. And the first one is that we were not getting along. We were not on the same page when it came to record the podcast, which is very interesting because we get along pretty well when we're working on other projects. But for some reason, for the podcast, when it was time to record the podcast, we were just not a good team. And we got into a lot of disagreements because I have my way of doing things and he has his way of doing things. And there were many, many times where we would even have fights, right there when we were getting ready to record. So that was not the kind of energy that we wanted to bring with the podcast. We started dreading the fact that we had to record together, that we have to record the podcast. So that was not what we wanted for our podcast. So we decided that it was going to be my project from this point forward. And I think we're both very happy with that solution, which I'm curious to know. Have you ever gotten into that situation with your co-host where you're just not getting along and you know that you need to have that difficult conversation and just do things apart from each other, or just end the host and co-host relationship somehow? If you've been through this situation, let me know in the comments. I'm curious to know how you handle it and how it resolved. And reason number 2 for us not being together for the second season of Content Jefe is that we are getting busier and busier every day. We have more clients and we have more students. The bigger that we get, the more that we get contacted by people who want to work with us, super fun opportunities. So for both of us to record the podcast, it was not a waste of time, but a not very efficient use of our time and our resources. So that's the other reason why we decided to just make the podcast my project. And I'm super happy for that. So for season 2, baby, I'm flying solo. And let me tell you, do I have surprises for you? I'm going to be recording here from my office. My whole idea with the podcast is to create a community, is to share in the moment situations, in the moment experiences with you, with my audience. This is also a place where I just want to connect with people. I want to show my personality. I want to show you me, and I want to connect with others and just be content bosses. This podcast is all about being a content boss. My mission is for you to feel empowered, to not feel embarrassed, to not compare yourself with other creators, to be you. I think content is an expression of our experience, of what we know, of our personalities. And the more we add ourselves, the more we get to connect with other people who are happy to embrace us the way we are and are happy to learn from us. So I want this podcast to be that for you. And I'm excited to hear all of your stories and to get to learn from you as well. But I didn't want to start talking about the brand new season, season number 2, and start planning the relaunching and all this without first looking at what we did, what worked for season number 1. So if you're going through the process of relaunching your podcast or launching a new season of your podcast, this is step number 1 for you. And I call the come to Jesus moment. In this step, you want to look at your numbers. You want to look at your analytics and make an inventory of what worked. So you are very proud of the hard work that you put into and how your strategy was working. And you also want to look at the not so good things that happened or the things that you may want to fix coming into this new chapter of your podcast. So that's exactly what I did. And I am going to be totally transparent with you. I'm going to share some analytics. They do not look very good, but I'm going to tell you what worked and what didn't work. And I'm very proud to share this information with you. So I had a come to Jesus moment with our podcast. I went inside to our YouTube channel for Content Jefe and looked at the analytics. And also, I went inside of our web host and looked at those analytics as well. And let me tell you, it was not a good experience, but I'm going to share those numbers with you in the name of transparency so you know what worked and what didn't work for Content Jefe. So let's get to it. As I am recording this episode, we have posted 261 videos on our Content Jefe YouTube channel, including shorts. We have accumulated 916 subscribers, more than 100,000 views, and more than 2,000 hours of watch time. Our best performing video in the channel is a YouTube short that we repurposed from a long format episode. And in that YouTube short, Steven is talking about trends and how jumping on trends and using trend hacking is not a very good strategy for content creators who want to grow on YouTube. So looking back, it makes total sense that that short will perform on YouTube because there's a lot of people who are interested in growing their channels and getting quick hacks and trend hacking and all that. So it makes total sense that that short will perform. That YouTube short alone got more than 8,000 views and got us 48 subscribers to our channel. So I may consider to keep doing shorts in this upcoming season. The second best performing video or episode for Content Jefe is an episode that I recorded right after I made a video for our main YouTube channel, the Pod Sounds Cool channel, about recording a video podcast using my iPhone 14 as the camera. And right after I finished shooting that video, I just wanted to do some commentary to share the whole experience and my findings. And I linked that episode to the main video. That video is performing really well on the Pat Sounds Cool channel. So there's some people trickling in to the Content Jefe channel because of that video. So that's why it's one of the best performing videos for the Content Jefe channel. And also because I'm talking about a very trending topic, which is video podcasting. There are a lot of people who are searching about video podcasting, how to make video podcasts with the iPhone. So that's why it's performing so well. But that video has gotten us 3,800 views, and we published that video in December of 2023. So in 6 months, we've gotten 3,800 views. And from that video alone, we've gotten 93 subscribers. So if we look at our analytics from our YouTube channel for Content Jefe, they're not so bad. I mean, we could have done a lot better. And I'm going to tell you in a minute what we did wrong and why we're not experiencing more growth on YouTube. But let's talk about the analytics that I got from Spotify for Podcasters, which is the web host that we use for Content Jefe to distribute the podcast on Spotify and also on Apple Podcasts. So we started Content Jefe on June 2022. So it's been 2 years of us producing Content Jefe. And in those 2 years, we got 3,045 plays. And then we got 85 subscribers on Spotify for podcasters. And then I looked at our analytics on Apple Podcast, and they are not as good as YouTube. Not that the ones from the Content Jefe YouTube channel are very impressive, but it was just like very disheartening and discouraging a little to see that we only have 87 followers on Spotify and we have the same amount on Apple Podcast. So our audience there is not as big as our audience on YouTube, which is 916 subscribers to our channel and more than 100,000 views. So it pays off to have your podcast or your video podcast on YouTube just because of that reason that you can experience more growth, even if you're not as consistent with your podcast, because you can still experience some growth if you are applying some of the best practices for YouTube SEO and you optimize your episodes and you use good titles and you also record podcast episodes about things that your audience is interested in and keywords will tell you that. So that's the advantage of having your podcast on YouTube is that you can optimize your content and people will find it that way. So let me know in the comments if you are posting your video podcast here on YouTube or if you're just posting your audio only episodes here on YouTube and how is that working for you? Have you seen any difference when it comes to downloads? Is your audience on YouTube bigger than your audience on the podcast players? Let me know. So let's talk about what we did right, why we experienced more growth on YouTube. Well, the first thing is that we optimized our videos. We did keyword research, and as much as we could, there were some episodes that we just wanted to record because we just wanted to record them. And we were feeling creative. We were feeling like we needed to talk about certain topics, even if they were not highly searched. Also, because the channel was a new channel. So there's no reference. You haven't posted any content on the platform. So there's no way for you to find out if your channel ranks for some of the keywords. So as we continue to post episodes and continue to post content on YouTube, then we started optimizing our videos and adding keywords to our titles and to our descriptions and optimizing our thumbnails to make people click. And our content was about things that our audience were interested in. So that's something that we did good. And hence, some of the numbers that we see on YouTube and some of the episodes is because we were optimizing our videos. Otherwise, we would have been stuck 100 subscribers or something like that. The other thing that we did pretty well was to post shorts. We didn't know at the time if that was going to be a good strategy to grow the channel, but we did it. And some of those shorts started picking up and brought some subscribers to our channel. So that was a good strategy to do for a channel that was brand new. Another thing that we did is that our content was good quality. We were recording the episodes upstairs in the studio, so we look very professional. We were using professional cameras and professional lenses, and we were using good microphones. So the whole experience of you tuning into our podcast was a good experience because that's what we do. We make videos for YouTube. We make videos for sponsors. We make tutorials. We record content for our different coaching programs and courses. So our production was really good, was high quality. So that's one of the things that we did with our podcast from the beginning is we want to have the same quality. So what went wrong? We were not consistent. It's very hard to stay consistent when you already have the responsibility of growing another channel. We've been consistent on our main channel, the Pod Sound School channel. We've been posting videos every weekend. Maybe we have missed a few weeks, but we've been very consistent with our content on that channel. And that's why that channel is close to 100,000 subscribers. But because making content for one channel alone is a lot of work. Like there's a lot of work that goes into making a video. Then our podcast just kind of took the back seat. And we were making content for sponsors. We were making content for our own courses. We had clients and students. So it got to be too much. So we would record a few episodes and then stop, and then we would then post more episodes like for months sometimes. So that was one of the things that we didn't do well, and that we dropped the ball, and that's that we were not consistent. And it's really hard when you have to stop because you're overwhelmed. There's no time for you to record the podcast, and then you start posting again, so you don't have a set schedule where people expect to tune into a new episode, so you lose your audience. So that's what happened to us. And then we were also not clear about the role that our podcast was going to have into our overall content marketing. When we started recording the podcast, there was a lot of teaching that we were doing, and we already do a lot of teaching in the Pad Sound School channel because that channel is educational. And I wanted the podcast to be about us sharing our journey as content creators and online entrepreneurs and share some of the lessons that we learned along the way. And that was one of the things that we couldn't agree on. Steven wanted to teach, and I just wanted to be me. And that was just not. It was just not flying. So that's one of the things that we did not have that clear. So it became like, okay, we have to teach here. We have to make educational content for the Pod Sound School channel. And then we were also making educational content for the podcast. And that was a lot of work. And then we did not have an efficient workflow. We tried to batch record some episodes. You can only imagine like how exhausting that was and how just it made us more cranky and more grumpy when you have to batch record. There's a lot of work that goes into batch recording. And sometimes those episodes don't perform as well because you can keep your energy high if you are recording 4 episodes in a row. Then every time that we will record, we would have to set up the studio, set up the equipment. This is another reason why it was so hard for Steven to record the podcast, is because he had to handle all of the technical things, and then he would be sweating. I don't know much about the technical, so I would be sitting there trying to help, or should I intervene? Should I say something? And then he would sit down and he would be all frustrated and sweating. And so that just wasn't fun. So that's one of the reasons why I am going to be recording here in my office, because I have everything ready to record every time I'm going to record an episode. So it's easy for me to just press record and quickly record an episode of something that I'm going through in the moment. I'm going to be sharing a lot of that kind of episode with you where I just sit down and honest with you about the things that I'm going through in the moment. You will find a lot of value from that, because if you are going through the same situation, if you are running your business from home, if you're a content creator, then we'll be able to like connect that way through the things that we have to go through to make the content, to entertain your audience, to educate your audience, to grow a business from home. So that's the kind of content that I want to record for the podcast. And the other mistake that we made with our podcast is that we were recording a lot of content. And I think I already mentioned this, but when you are recording videos for another channel, videos for a sponsor, you are also recording content for your courses. You are posting your own content, because it's not only recording the content. Thankfully, we have editors that edit our content, and they're very talented editors. But then somebody had to post all that content. So we were getting behind with posting all of the content. And it got to be too much to record all of that and the podcast. So that's another mistake that we made. And that's one of the reasons we dropped the ball as well. So to wrap up, step number one, look at your analytics, see what's working for you. That's the come to Jesus moment where you get to be proud of your work, or maybe you just get that, uy, la embarré. What am I going to do to fix it? That's why you should look at your analytics. Now, you are going to love step number two, because that's the step where we slow down and we get creative as we plan the new look of our podcast. And I call this step the Betty La Fea transformation. And if you don't know what Betty La Fea is a telenovela I used to watch with my mother when I was in Colombia. It was a very famous telenovela. I had fun memories about that telenovela because it was just right before I moved here to the US. And let me tell you, if you have a Latina mom, you will understand this. My mom and I speak telenovela. And let me explain. Like every time she wants to share with me a life lesson, give me advice, she cites a telenovela. She cites telenovela like an attorney in court. Your Honor, in Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka. But instead she uses telenovelas. Mamita, remember Sebastián en la Gaviota en Café con Aroma de Mujer? Anyway, I digressed. I like a good telenovela. Do you like telenovelas? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments, what is your favorite Colombian telenovela? For me, it's Betty la Fea en Café con Aroma de Mujer y Pedro el Escamoso. Those three. But anyway, going back to step number two, the Betty la Fea transformation. This is where you get to create new visual assets for your podcast. A new cover art, a new banner for your YouTube channel, new profile pictures, digital assets, graphics, and intros for your video podcast. You name it. This is a time where you get to maybe rebrand altogether or just give your podcast a refresher this way. This is also the perfect time to remind yourself of who your audience is. I went through the whole process of reminding myself, who am I making this podcast for? And for this, I used Canva and I created a whole presentation on Canva about my ideal listener. I added pictures of my ideal listener. I even have a name for my ideal listener. If you're curious to know the name of my ideal listener, let me know in the comments and I'll share it with you. I added as much information and details about this person as possible because I want to know who am I talking to when I'm recording my podcast. It makes it easier for me to connect. It makes it easier for me to visualize this person and for me to want to sit down and have a conversation. So do this. It's a good thing to visit this once in a while, to open this document and go through all of the information that you have for your ICA. Because now that you have a few episodes that you have produced and maybe you have some interactions with your listeners, then you have a better idea of who is your ideal listener, or maybe your ideal listener is your client and you already have a lot of details about your client. And, having those details in your mind is a different thing than just putting them on paper and having visuals for your ideal listener, your ideal client. So I would do this. I would take the time to go through this exercise. It's very useful. It's very valuable when you are creating content. Another thing that I'm in the process of doing that you may find very fun is to take brand new photos for your podcast cover art. I don't even remember when was the last time we took photos. It was probably 2 years ago when we launched Content Jefe. And I am excited to go through the process of taking new photos for Content Jefe. I have some ideas, but I'm not going to share those ideas with you in this episode because I want those to be a surprise. It's going to shock you a little bit. I'm not holding back. I'm telling you. I'm going to show you my personality. So you're going to see things. But I use Canva for this again because when you are taking a photo shoot, it can take a lot of your time and it can take a lot of your energy and your mental space. And then you have all of these things that you have to keep track of, your outfits, the props that you're going to be using. If you are renting a studio for your photos, if you are hiring a photographer, so you're paying these people by the hour. So you want to go into it prepared. So what I did is that I used Canva again and I created a mood board for my photo shoot. So I went on Pinterest and I found some pictures of certain poses that I want to do for the podcast cover art and for assets for our social media. So I downloaded those from Pinterest and I put them on Canva on this presentation. I call it my mood board. And also for the mood board, I added different props and poses that I want to do during the photo shoot. And I added some outfits and colors that I want for the new season of Content Jefe. So when I go into the photo shoot, I'm going to know what I'm using. I'm going to know the props that I'll be using for my pictures, certain microphones, lighting. I'm going to know like which pose I'm going to be doing. So I don't have to stand there and think what I'll be doing. I just have to get my mood board where I can see it and then I'll follow whatever I have on my mood board. And then I don't have to think too much because I'm going to be the talent. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to do the thinking and I don't want to do the makeup and the hair and all of that. I want everything planned. So there's the hot tip for you. Create a mood board for your upcoming photo shoot and get a photo shoot scheduled for you. It'll be fun. Then another thing we are going to do for Content Jefe, and I say we, yes, because Steven is going to be involved in this. He doesn't know it yet. But we are going to be creating a new intro for Content Jefe, a new animated intro for Content Jefe. We do this for our clients, and these are very fun to create because they're very short, but they have pictures and they have animations and text and music and brand colors. And so they're super fun. And I would recommend if you have a video podcast to create one for your video podcast. We have a video on our main channel, Pod Sounds Cool, where Steven takes you behind the scenes of him creating an animated intro for one of our clients. So I want the same for Content Jefe. And yeah, that's one of the other things that I'm going to be creating for Content Jefe. And I'm excited. So doing all these things, revisiting your ideal listener profile, or maybe creating a new one because the first time that you launched your show, you didn't go through this exercise, taking brand new photos, thinking about maybe rebranding, choosing different colors, scheduling a photo shoot, planning or making your mood boards so you are ready for your photo shoot, and creating digital assets, and enlisting the help of an editor to help you with creating new visual and audio assets for your podcast will give your podcast, your show, a better look, a refreshed and brand new look. And then you'll get excited to record content and you'll get excited to get back on track and you will fall in love with your podcast again. I am super excited about this brand new look of Content Jefe. And maybe we'll be recording some behind the scenes that you can find in our Pod Sound School channel. So you can see that everything that we did to put all of those assets together for the relaunch of season number 2 of Content Jefe. Another thing I'm excited to experiment with is the format of Content Jefe. And this is step number 3. And I call this step glowing from the inside. The makeover of your podcast from the inside is just as important as the external makeover, choosing a new podcast cover art or creating a new podcast cover art, like choosing new colors for your brand, taking new photos. All of that's important, but paying attention to the content. And that's why you looked at your analytics and you get to see what worked for your podcast and what didn't work, and what are the changes that you're going to be making to your content, to the episodes, to what you are going to be talking about each episode, how you deliver the information, what kind of information you are going to be sharing with your audience. So that is very important too. I haven't totally decided how I'm going to structure the episodes or the different things that I'm going to include in the episode. You're going to see a lot of experimentation from my part. But mainly, what I want to do, and I already mentioned it in this episode, is that I want to record in the moment as I go through experiences. It will allow me to connect with you and it will allow me to stay on track with the podcast. I may decide to bring guests again to interview people, but mostly it's going to be me sharing what I am going through. And believe me, there's not a dull moment in the content creation journey and the running a business from home with 3 kids. I'm running a business with my partner. There's a lot of drama and a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that I don't get to share, that I think that it will be very useful, very helpful for those who are starting into this journey or for those who have been doing this for a long time to say like, oh, I go through that as well. So that is what I'm going to be doing. And of course, I am going to be answering questions and I'm going to be providing useful information for you who are making content for your business or making content as a full-time content creator. That's what I'm here for. I'm a nerd when it comes to creating content. I'm a nerd when it comes to running a business online. So I'm going to be sharing all that information too. But mainly, you're just going to tune in with me. We're just going to chat. We're just going to have this cozy experience here in my office. And I am all for it. I'm going to be here, present, and engage with you the whole time. But also part of my strategy when it comes to the content is that I do keyword research for my episodes and I'm going to continue to do that because when you do keyword research, then you get to know what people need help with. When you use different tools and you get to see what people are searching on YouTube or on Google, then you really get a peek into what they need help with. And it will be like not very smart of me not to make episodes about those things that you may be searching for on YouTube and that I have the answer for, or that I can bring somebody over an interview and have the answer for that. And that is a good strategy because then I'm going to be making episodes about things that you find interesting and that you need help with. And also because that will help the Content Jefe channel to grow, which is one of my goals is to grow the Content Jefe channel, is to grow our audience on YouTube and to grow our audience also on the podcast players. So that's how Content Jefe will glow from the inside. So when you are planning your content for your new relaunch, this is something that I want you to take into account and not to take lightly is to look at your content, look at what performed, look at some of the ways that you can make your content even more fun for you and for your audience. If you're getting a little bored with your podcast, then it's your show. You can change things. And chances are that if you're getting bored, that's the energy that you are sharing with your audience. And you don't want to do that. You want to enjoy what you make, enjoy making your content so that energy pours through the internets directly into your audience's hearts. Mira, I'm poetic. So let me do a little recap for you so you can take this 3 steps with you and start your podcast makeover. Number 1, that's the come to Jesus moment. That's the moment for you to look at your analytics and to do an inventory of what worked and what didn't work. The second step is the Betty La Fea transformation. That's where you get to maybe create a new podcast cover art for your podcast, to schedule a photo shoot, to just make a very interesting and very movie like comeback. You taking some risk with the photo shoot, whatever it is that you want to do, then this is the time to create some new assets and to spice things up a little with your show. And then the last step is to glow from the inside. This is for you to look at the format of your podcast, to look what you can do with the content, with the way that you deliver the content, with the format for your show, and to do keyword research to incorporate SEO strategy for your podcast so it's more visible, so you can get your podcast more power to reach new audiences. This is something that you can do for your podcast makeover. So I will leave you with those 3 steps. Let me know in the comments if you are going through a podcast makeover right now. I'm interested to know how that's going. And I hope I can see you in my next episode. I have some really fun episodes coming your way. And just keep being a content boss. Oh, remember to follow Content Jefe if you are listening to this episode on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and to subscribe to the Content Jefe channel if you're watching us on YouTube. And until next episode, thank you, boss. Keep creating. Bye.